All right, let's talk about a tool that might just change your entire workday. We're diving into something that's built right into SAP and is incredibly powerful, the SAP GUI Scripting API.
Oh, you know the feeling. We've all been there, right? That endless loop of copy, paste, click. You're entering the same data into the same screens over and over again. It's just so tedious, it's slow, and honestly, it's a perfect recipe for mistakes, especially when you're working inside a beast of a system like SAP.
But here's a thought. What if, instead of being the robot, you could just build the robot? I mean, really, what if you could take all that repetitive work and just hand it off to a digital assistant that you created? One that does the job perfectly every single time. That's the big idea we're digging into today.
And the tool that makes all this possible is called SAP GUI Scripting. Now, let's be super clear about this. This is not some sketchy third-party hack or some weird workaround. Nope. This is a technology built by SAP themselves for the exact purpose of automating what users do.
So what is it exactly? Well, think of it as a special kind of interface that lets you take control of the SAP front end through code. Your script can do everything you can do, clicking, typing, navigating through screens, but it does it all at, lightning speed. And we're not just talking about filling out a couple of forms here. The official uses for this are incredibly broad. You can use it to automatically test your SAP systems to make sure everything's running right. You can build your own custom tools or even create guided tutorials for new folks. And of course, you can run those big, complex scripts that mimic entire workflows. It is a surprisingly versatile piece of tech.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. That term API can sound super technical, maybe a little intimidating if you're not a developer. So let's just use a better analogy. I want you to think of the SAP GUI Scripting API as a digital remote control for the entire SAP application. Every single button, every menu, every little text box on your screen has a matching button on this remote.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This comes straight from the SAP Developer Guide. They talk about creating a hierarchy of objects. Now that phrase sounds a bit complex, but it's literally just the blueprint for our remote control. It's the map that tells your script exactly where every single element is on the screen so it can find it and use it.
So how does this remote actually work? Well, it's all about drilling down step by step. At the very top, you've got the GUI application. That's the remote control itself, the whole device. Then you select a GUI connection. That's like pointing the remote at the right SAP system. Next, you pick a GUI session, which is like choosing the specific channel or app you want to control. Inside that, you have the GUI main window, which is the actual screen you're looking at. And finally, you can zoom all the way in and target one specific thing, like a GUI button, to interact with. It's just a really logical path from the whole application down to one single click.
Okay, now for the fun part. Let's take a quick tour of the most common buttons on our digital remote. We're going to look at the actual object names your script would use to make the magic happen.
First up, the most fundamental thing you can do on any interface, pressing a button. In the scripting world, we call this a GUI button object. This object represents literally any button you can click on. It doesn't matter if it's on the main screen, in a toolbar, or even inside a table. And its primary action is, you guessed it, press. Your script just has to find the button it needs and tell it, hey, press yourself. It's that simple.
So, we can press buttons, but what about typing things in? Well, that's where the text box comes in, or as the API calls it, the GUI text field. This covers any field where you'd normally type. But here's the cool part. The script doesn't actually type. It uses a command called setText to just, bam, instantly populate the field with whatever data you want. This right here is the absolute heart of automating data entry.
But, as we all know, SAP isn't just simple buttons and boxes. What about those massive grids of data that are everywhere? For that, we have something called the GUI table control.
And this thing is incredibly powerful. It's your key to interacting with those tables. Your script can do way more than just read the data. It can select specific rows, get the value from one single cell in a certain row and column, or even change the value in an editable cell. For processing huge lists of orders or materials, this is an absolute game changer.
So we've covered buttons, text fields, and tables. And that's a lot. But honestly, we have barely scratched the surface. These three are just the tip of the iceberg.
I mean, check this out. There's a whole universe of these controls. You've got GUI calendar to interact with the date picker, GUI password field for securely handling logins. You can even work with complex stuff like charts, maps, and embedded Microsoft Office documents.
The main takeaway here is really simple. If you can see it and click it in SAP, there's almost certainly a way to control it with a script.
So after this quick tour of the tech, let's bring it all back together. Why does mastering this digital remote control actually matter for you and your work? Well, it really just boils down to this simple comparison. The manual way is slow. Every key press is another chance for a typo. It's repetitive and tedious. But the automated way, it's fast, it's perfectly consistent every single time, and it's incredibly scalable. You're not just saving time, you're improving your data quality and freeing up human brain power for the tasks that actually require creativity and thinking, not just endless clicking.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you know this tool exists, this digital remote control for SAP, what's the first tedious, repetitive task in your own workflow that you would love to hand over to a robot that you build yourself?